My name is Ridwaanullah Abimbola. I am the author of the latest masterpiece, Blinding Realities, Lasting Possibilities, Heart Talks and Teen Love, Sex and Addiction. Blinding Realities is a belated conversation about our young people's darkest secrets. Ironically, we all know the secrets, but we gloss over them as if they were inconsequential. So the blinding realities are 6 phenomena. The first of them is teen love, which could be teen dating, and in other instances could be teen hookup, or one could lead to the other. Then the second is teen sex, teens, young people having premarital sex. And there is teen pregnancy, it could lead to teen pregnancy. Then teen abortion, in case that happens, they want to, abort the baby, or, if they keep it, then leads to unwanted baby, teen birth, and then there is teen addiction. So these are the blinding realities that I've brought together to make this book. These 6 realities are just the introduction. It's also about puberty, about new truth about puberty. A lot of us don't know that puberty has changed over the decades. I talked about the secular trends in the book, how puberty is happening faster due to a host of factors such as nutrition, environment, gene, ethnicity, and so on. And at the same time that puberty is happening faster, young people are living in a very hostile environment, an environment where they are sexualized. As young as age of 6, our children are seeing pornography, whether they want to or not. According to one study, the average age of exposure to pornography is 14. Sometimes when it is very early, it's about 11. So young people attaining puberty earlier and living in a very hostile environment calls for a special response. Now, in addition to this, we have a collective hypocrisy, in the sense that we try to gloss over some things that are really, really obvious to everyone, and while we try to accept other things. I will say more about that subsequently. It's also about our delusions. We like to think to ourselves that our young people are innocent. They don't have a heart that beats. They don't know anything. They're just so innocent. They don't know anything about love until they've finished from university. So that's a delusion that we are all predisposed to. So this book talks about that, and it also addresses the heartbreaking reality of young people having sex before marriage. It used to be a common thing in the past. It's not new, but trust me, it's happening on a greater magnitude. It's really much more rampant in our times. So these are the things I brought together in Blinding Realities. What are the reasons for this, and how do we respond to this new truth that we have before us? I have written Blinding Realities as a response to some of these challenges that I've mentioned, but there were 3 or 4 events that actually prompted me to write the book. The first of the event was my conversation with a friend of mine, Koiki to be precise, on the 7th of July 2017. I just finished writing my last paper as an undergraduate, so we met for a chat, and during that conversation he said to me some of the things that parents were doing to their young children over love and marriage. Maybe someone is in school as an undergraduate and has found someone they like. Some parents do horrible things. I cited some instances in the book. I told the story of Lena, who has finished her first degree and she had found someone she loved and she wanted to get married to, but her parents wanted her to have a master's degree. But I actually don't understand how education and marriage clash. Both can work together, but her parents would not budge. They wanted her to have her MSc first before marriage. In the process of waiting, Lina got pregnant for her fiancé or boyfriend, and still, maybe it was for her parents to change, I don't know, but she did that. But her parents wouldn't shift their position. Amidst this challenge, this conflict, Lina lost the pregnancy. She lost the love she had found. She lost the degree, and as at the time I wrote her story, she was in her father's house with neither a husband nor a degree, nor a child. That was the first instance. That was the first experience. The second thing was what happened on the 6th of December 2017. So after I started in 2017 July, at some point I lost interest. I was just tired. I was like, hey, Ridwan, these problems have been existing before you were born, before your father was born. So why is it that you are coming now to correct it? So, but on December 6th, someone so close to me, I gave her the name Roba. Bear in mind that every character in my book is real, but I changed their names to protect their identity. So Roba told me she was pregnant. Roba was about 20 years then. She was pregnant and it was out of wedlock. And trust me, I was devastated because she's someone I respect so much, that is so dear to me. She's intelligent, she's hardworking, and she's decent. But I could not understand how it happened to her. You know, I'd forgotten that the mighty ones too have fallen in the past. So when I saw what happened to Roba, I became, re-energized to talk about this. After a while, I was beginning to lose steam again, and Zana happened. Now, Zana is a teen home girl. She was just about 14 or 15 at that time, and she told me she had lost her virginity. How did you do that? And she said my boyfriend wanted to have intimacy with her. She had consent to keep the relationship going, but unfortunately, the guy left her after that. Now she could not even tell anyone. It was a silent cry. I could not take that. Then after that, just a few months after that, Mona happened. Mona was in her first year, about 20 years too, when she was contemplating abortion because she was pregnant for her boyfriend. Now everything happened within a very short time, and I was wondering, hey, why me? Why are all this happening around me? I think there are some things we're not doing right. I have to tell the world about these blinding realities, and we have to look for solutions to them. So this was what prompted me to start this book project about 6 years ago, and ever since I have come to encounter even more heartbreaking stories that I think we should all come together to talk about. So that's why another name for this book is The Heart Talks. The realities that blind should be talked about. Blinding Realities is not a novel. Of course, it has stories in it. In fact, the first chapter begins with a story. I titled it Tales of Misery. I narrated how Robo's news came to me and devastated me. And for every point in the book, I told stories around them. The story of Robo, the story of Mona. I talked about Australian porn addicts, 11-year-olds in Australia who are addicted to porn, and then a host of other characters. So the book it takes the approach of story and it brings together facts and figures from different disciplines like developmental psychology, family history, gender studies, education, and normative ethics, otherwise called religions or morality. If you're a story lover, you find your taste satisfied. If you're about facts and figures, you find it there. If you're about history, you find it there. If you're about statistics, you find it there. Whatever your taste is, you'll find something you want in Blinding Realities. In fact, if you love memes or humor, it's there. It's so practical. Every event in the book is a true life event, which I brought together with facts and figures to present the case. Yeah, everyone should know about Blinding Realities. Everyone. Young people should know about it. Parents should know about it. Teachers should know about it. Parents should know about blinding realities, about the content of this book, because one, they will understand the kind of children they are training in this generation. They will know much more about puberty. According to one research, one study, about half of girls would have matured by age 12, and about half of boys about 13 years of age would have attained maturity. Now, we need to know when they attain maturity and how to respond to this. How do we respond to the growing gap between sexual maturation and marriage? And so how do we respond? So that's what parents need to know, to understand. How do we protect our children's chastity? How do we help them grow up in the best environment? How do we attend to their yearnings in the right way? So that's for parents. It's also about teachers, because teachers, they are semi-parents, because they spend a lot of time with young people. So as a teacher, how do you relate with your adolescents? How do you respond to them? How do you know what is going on in their minds? A lot of things go on within school environments. I've listened to cases of young students exchanging nudes. I have seen students who had a illicit relationship, and they were punished by the school authority. But instead of desisting from that, they grew even stronger. How do we respond to things like this? So we need to know this as teachers, as religious leaders. How do we address this in our places of worship? As counselors, how do we work with young people to address some of their emotional challenges? And as policymakers, how do we rebrand education to really favor our young people? Because there is a great vacuum in that aspect. I talk about rethinking schooling and education in the 21st century. I am the best person to talk about blinding realities. Well, maybe not the very best person, but I'm in a good position to talk about this because, one, I am a teacher. I have had several experiences in the classroom, and I brought some of these experiences into my book. I've been interacting with young people for the past 6 years as the head coach at Genius and Intelligence Academy, where I train students on smart learning, personal development, and puberty education. And as you would see in the book, I brought some of my first-hand experiences into this book. I have brought the questions that young people asked me during my classes into this book, and I have tried to address it. In addition to that, I have a certification in global adolescent health from the University of Melbourne, Australia. That was after I finished my degree in Islamic studies from the University of Ilorin. And I'd gone ahead to take a diploma in contemporary issues so that we know how to address them. And most recently, I completed my postgraduate diploma in education from the University of Lagos. I'm a certified teacher. I am a coach. I am a counselor to young people, and I'm a mentor to them. So I've encountered hundreds of them. I know what their concerns are, and I've brought these concerns to bear so that we can begin to address them the right way. Yeah, I think change is possible, although it's difficult. It is really difficult. Trust me, it's really, really difficult. I realized that a lot of the problems you have today did not start today. If you look back into history, if you check the records, you will see that every vice we have today in the 21st century was around 50, 100, 150, 200 years ago. Let me give you an interesting instance. Around the 1750s, and in England, a significant portion of young brides were pregnant at the altar. In this time we say, she don't carry belly, before marriage. But this is not new. According to several studies, if you check the researches of family historians, you see that at some point in England, brides were getting married pregnant. In fact, some people got married because of pregnancy. It was pregnancy that prompted them to get married. So they call it bridal pregnancy. I explained all of this phenomena in blinding realities, and it's an interesting thing to check out. Now, so why do I think we can change things in our time? I think we can change things in our time because we have two superpowers that generations of the past did not have. The first is communication. The world is so interconnected that we can come together to negotiate, to address the the challenges we have. So with the power of communication and interconnectivity, we can sit at the table, we can have talks on how to find solutions to these problems that our young people face. This initiative is not new. About 100 years ago, in 1913 precisely, the American community took the first effort to train young students on purity education. They call it purity talks. What eventually became sex education today started as chastity education. The American community wanted to train its society, its young people, the general community on how to keep chaste, how to not be promiscuous, how to keep the rising rates of STIs, sexually transmitted infections, low. But after several decades, as at 2006, the American government had spent about $1 billion on abstinence-only program, but there was nothing to show for this effort. So that was what brought comprehensive sex education into the scene, coupled with the HIV/AIDS pandemic in the 1980s. But in that times, I think we have better chances of solving these problems. Of course, we have to make new compromises and sacrifices. But trust me, it is when we come together to negotiate these challenges that we can know the ways forward. I believe change is possible. I have shown it in this book. I've shown several examples. I talked about the social support. I talked about the educational system. I brought a lot of studies, researches, findings, and practical real-life examples of how we can make things better. The starting point is, the first thing is listening. We should deal with this pretense, this silence, this negligence, thinking because we survived through adolescence somehow our young people to will. This is very costly. This is very costly because things are not the way they used to be in the past. People are saying a lot of beautiful things about blinding realities. So where can I get blinding realtors? Visit www.blindingrealtors.com for information on our local stores. It's available on Amazon. You can get it on seller also. My name is Ridwaanullah Abimbola once again, and this is my latest book, which I want you to read. It's about everyone. I want us to have these heart talks. It is not just a book, it's a conversation, and I want you to be a part. Reading is the first stage. When we are done with reading, then we come together to deliberate and begin to chart new path forward for young people. Thank you.